In this video, the learner will identify the angle pairs formed when two lines are crossed by a transversal. First, let's talk about what a transversal is. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more other lines. So line P in this diagram is considered a transversal. Lines Q and R are the lines that are intersected by the transversal P. So Q and R here, if they were extended, notice they would intersect somewhere over here. Then we could consider Q a transversal once it intersected both P and R. Because in this diagram it doesn't currently do that, we wouldn't consider it the transversal for this diagram. We would only consider it line P. As you can see from the diagram, there are angles formed with the lines and transversal in the diagram. We're going to talk about the different pairs and what they're called in this video. In order to name the angle pairs that are formed with the transversal and the two lines, we have to consider where those angles are when the lines and transversal break up the plane into different sections. So the name of the pair of angles depends on their location. We can see the two lines here that are crossed by the transversal. In between the two lines, we consider those angles to be interior. Outside of the two lines, we consider those angles to be exterior. So we talk about interior and exterior in reference to the two lines that are being intersected. We can also consider where those angles are in reference to the transversal, whether or not the two angles are on the same side of the transversal or whether they're on different sides of the transversal. If they're on the same side, they will be called same side. If they're on different sides of the transversal, they'll be called alternate. This would be in reference to the transversal. So as we take a look at this picture here, we have transversal T and lines Q and R that form angles 1 through 8. Notice we've highlighted the interior and exterior regions that the plane is broken up into. The four interior angles lie in the region between the lines Q and R. So angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6 are considered interior angles. The angles that lie in the exterior region, both here and below the two lines, are angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. These are considered exterior angles because they are not between the two lines. Consecutive interior angles are interior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal T. This will be a pair of angles that lie on the same side and are interior to the two lines. So pairs 4 and 5 and 3 and 6 are considered consecutive interior angles. Notice 4 and 5 are on the left side of that transversal T and both in that interior region. 3 and 6 are on the same side of that transversal T and the same interior region. Consecutive interior angles are also called same side. Those will be interchangeable terms that we use for those types of pairs. So when you hear the word consecutive, know we can also use same side. We also have alternate interior angles. These are angles that are non-adjacent, which means they will not share a side. Interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So they have to be interior and they have to be on opposite sides of the transversal. So we would consider angle 4 being an alternate interior angle with 6. Those are non-adjacent angles that are both interior, but on different sides of that transversal T. 4 and 3 cannot be alternate interior angles because they are adjacent. We also have alternate exterior angles that are non-adjacent angles, but they are exterior to the two lines, and they're on opposite sides of that transversal. So we have to consider these blue exterior regions here. If we consider angle 1 that's on the left side of that transversal T, we want an alternate angle and an exterior angle. So angle 7 would be an alternate exterior angle with 1. 2 cannot be an alternate exterior with 1 because alternate exterior angles have to be non-adjacent. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of lines that are being crossed. They're in the same position. So notice that angle 1 is in the upper left-hand position of its set of angles here. So angle 1 is in the upper left. If I go to the other set of angles here, the one in the upper left position is angle 5. So 1 and 5 are corresponding. 2 is in the upper right position. 6 is in the upper right position. So angle 2 and angle 6 are a pair of corresponding angles. 3 and 7 are a pair of corresponding angles, and 4 and 8. We also have consecutive exterior angles. These are exterior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal T. So in the blue regions here, ones that would lie on the same side of that transversal. So an exterior angle that lies on the same side of the transversal as angle 2 is angle 7. All of these types here are your type of angle pairs that are created with a transversal and two lines. Here we're going to identify the transversal connecting each pair of angles in this photo, and then we're going to classify the relationship between each pair of angles. So given angles 1 and 3, we first want to identify the transversal that crosses through each one of those angles. In the diagram, angle 1 is here, angle 3 is here. A line that passes through both of those angles is line H. Line H is the transversal that crosses both line L and J here. Now notice that they are on different sides of that transversal H. That means that they will be alternate. Notice that both of those angles are outside of lines J and L. So those will be considered alternate exterior angles. Angles 5 and 6. The transversal that crosses through both of those angles is line K. Line K crosses lines L and J to form those angles. So consider where those angles are in reference to the transversal K. 5 and 6 are on the same side of that transversal, so that means they will be consecutive. Both of these angles are inside or interior to lines J and L. That means that they will be consecutive interior angles. Angles 2 and 6 are both crossed by a transversal L. L intersects lines K and H to form those angles. Notice that they are on the same side of that transversal L, but 2 is interior to the two lines, and 6 is exterior to line K. So they cannot be interior or exterior angles. But notice that angle 2 is in the lower right-hand position, and 6 is in the lower right-hand position. Because they're in the same position, angles 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. For questions 3A through 3F, you need to try these using that same diagram. You're going to identify the transversal that forms those two angles, and then decide what type of angle pair those angles are.